So this would be the time when Dan would typically be doing the opening to the show. But right now, Dan's working on his 1 frame every 2 seconds. Look.
Oh, come on. It can't be that bad right now.
Yeah, it really is.
It really is.
Oh, it's
frozen.
You know how sometimes...
All right. So, John, you take the show. I'm going to restart.
Yeah.
I'll join you back here in a couple of minutes.
Come back here. So thank you guys for being with us tonight. Tonight we've got a kind of a fun topic. We're going to get into DJ software, which seems to be kind of a big topic. A lot of people like to talk about their software. Everyone's got their favorite. We're going to dig into that just a little bit tonight, and we'll get into that more when Dan gets back here. Before we do that, though, MJ, you're a big fan of charts and looking at the charts each and every week.
Yes.
Which charts? There were 3 of them you talked about, I think, last week of the week. Which 3 were the ones that you like to kind of keep up on each and every week?
The Billboard Hot 100, which is different than the singles chart. Because singles chart you have to pay for. The Hot 100 you don't. That's one of the things you have to think about there. On Billboard, the Spotify US weekly or monthly, depending, because you can set the gauges on that to go week or month or year and see whatever's trending for that. And there's also the exact same thing for YouTube, which I've kind of been paying more attention to because of, like I talked about last week, the amount of music that is taken, listened to via YouTube compared to other ones. Half of all music people listen to streamed-wise, not on a radio station, streamed-wise, half of it comes from YouTube. So my mind's a little bit more on that right now. In fact, I even ended up getting a 1-month free subscription to YouTube Music.
Okay. And
it works basically the same way Spotify does, but you also get the other stuff. So, like, on YouTube, there's endless amounts of mixes people have put up. Like Spotify, it's always songs. So if I want to listen to a playlist, I can, but the song ends, so that sort of thing. But over there are mixes that I can listen to over there. So I'm really starting to like the YouTube Music a lot. Like, I may just walk away from Spotify aside from just watching it, because I'm really liking the way, because like I don't absorb albums when I go to Spotify. I'll type in a type of music and then do playlists. So it's an interesting thing. I'm sorry I went off on a tangent there.
No.
Did you have a specific question about those 3?
And
Those are the 3 because I think they're the main that cover pretty much everything.
And of course, it can be a variety of songs. If there's an old song that all of a sudden starts to get heated up, YouTube would show that. And what brought me to that is that Mike Lenstra posted in our DJNTV Insider group a chart from Apple, from iTunes. And I think of the 10 songs, there were like 7 of them that were old.
Well, see, you have to look at played and played this month, because there's a big difference between the 2. That's the key you have to look at. When I'm looking at Billboard's showing me the last week. They're not showing me over the year or all together. Dan's back. How are you, Dan? Are you Tron now? Or are you Mr. Roboto?
Yeah, something like that.
You're much better.
Yeah, looking much better, yeah.
Restarted everything, so we'll see. I don't know.
Hey, it happens,
Yeah, it does. Beautiful technology. Who knows?
Yeah.
So on the YouTube charts, have you seen older songs pop back into that chart?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's even on Billboard you see stuff. I mean, when they had that whole Cranberry thing with the dude on the skateboard and the Cranberry, that brought back Fleetwood Mac, and we saw Taylor Swift's thing come back because she did this whole thing. There's stuff like that pops back on all the time. I could look, I mean, if you want to go to another show and talk about that, we can.
Yeah,
or I can look right now and kind of see what's there on that one.
No, I just wanted to
specifically look at the ones, like I said, not just the one on iTunes he was pointing at is everything that plays on iTunes, not like now.
Okay.
Sort of.
Yeah, it was just kind of because the whole idea that with game shows like Name That Tune out there, I know my children have been watching that because they think it's funny when Dad can do way better than the people who are playing the game. Until there's a new song, and then my kids are like, "Oh, that's that song."
You would be blown away by how much that stuff like that affects the charts and people's minds. Because I used to DJ. This was back 2004, something like that. I was DJing an 80s night every once in a while. I was filling in for a friend, and they knew their 80s by if it was in a movie. So I could bring some 80s, and I literally had people come up and go, "This isn't 80s." And I'm like, "Did you ever see such and such a movie?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "It was in that movie." "Oh, okay." And they would just accept it. So
They were good.
Looking at like the U.S. top songs right now, they're all new stuff. They're none of the old stuff. So again, that's the YouTube one. You have to look at different things. They also have a YouTube music video chart and a music artist chart over here too. So you kind of look at everything because you're looking at the trending, which is totally different than top songs, because Daft Punk is on trending because they just broke up, but they're not on top songs because you're looking at two different things.
So the moral of the story is there's lots of charts. You must
pay attention to what's hot. Make sure you have it. That's why I say if you go on every week to like Billboard, and if it falls inside the top 40, get it, because there's a chance it's popular enough to hit there. You may need it someday. That's all you got to do. I download like 4 or 5 songs a week max. I ain't got no time for this. I ain't got no time for 200 song downloads and then pick through them.
6 or 7 songs.
Which is why he can tag all of his music the appropriate way, and others of us are kind of.
I'm telling you, it's so inefficient to go the other way.
Yeah, it is.
And it is.
Anyways,
so let's jump into tonight's topic. Tonight we're going to be talking about the different software and really kind of getting some opinions on that and sharing some. For some of you out there watching, you've got your favorites. Some of you out there, I've heard of that one and I'm interested a little bit. And some of you're like, hey, this round silver CD, these are awesome. We've got people at a variety of different levels. And doing different things. And what we're just basically going to do is kind of go through and see, why there's so much variety or differences or the different options out there when it comes to software. So, MJ, you said you had a disclaimer before we start. So
this is a simple disclaimer. I think that's going to be my thing each week before we start doing a simple disclaimer. When I was younger, I heard this quote, and I absolutely love it. It said, "Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but no one is entitled to be wrong about the facts." Okay? There have been many people who have put out videos in our industry that had to do with music software where they flat out lied or were so stupid they didn't know. So tonight, I'm going to be calling anybody who is going off opinion or emotion on this, and I expect you guys and everyone in the chat to also call me if I'm BSing too. So we're going to be talking about facts and information, not this, well, just everybody uses it. It's industry standard. That's the stupidest thing in the world. So there's my opinion. So call me on that one. So with that said, I just think it's going to be a very important show tonight that we all should just pay attention to and make sure you take notes is all I'm saying. So,
Mike, I think that answered your question. Mike out on Facebook, thank you for joining us. We got a great crew with us tonight. So let's
I should have Superman you. That would have probably been better.
Pretty good. So let's kind of go through and for those, most people are very familiar with virtual DJ. Serato's another big name. There's a few out there. Let's just laundry list. What kind of things you guys have seen out there for software?
For different kinds?
Yeah.
We also have to look at the whole difference because certain people like certain programs that are Mac only. I don't know who they are.
Nobody does that. So obviously, let's. I mean, you as you've already mentioned, there's virtual DJ, there's Serato, there's Tractor. Those for the longest times were like the big 3 that were out there. I'm sure there was many others and probably in more popularity, but those are the 3 names you would tend to hear most often. And then you've got ones that are on iPads, such as Algorithms DJ. Of course, now that's also flipped over to Macs as well.
That's on all. That's on Android,
it is now. I take
Mac,
it back.
Yeah.
But not when it started, though, right?
But the Pro is only, like the one you're going to get the full amount is only Mac. Macintosh, not iOS.
Right.
Well, the iOS one's good too. But you are much diminished on the Android and Windows platforms for that.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Engine Prime. So now we flip over to Denon.
You want to call that a program when it's actually, well, it is, but it isn't. It's not a program to me because you can't download it to DJ from it, but you can DJ from it when it's in their hardware, and you can music manage with it when it's in your computer. So can we put that in the list or not? There's a good
I say we count it.
Okay.
I say we count it. And from the simplest standpoint, had we had this conversation 2 years ago before Prime, I would have said no. but seeing it on the Prime and seeing what you've done with it on the Prime within their Windows screen setup,
Right.
I feel like it needs to be included.
Okay.
Yeah. There's Record Box. There's Megaseg.
I'm leaving the cap off tonight.
Can you
just so
tell me more about that one? That one sounds fascinating.
That one's Mac only.
Oh, Mac only. Yeah, Macs are great. I've heard of Macs. Yeah, they must be.
And
really
then then there's one that's even better than the M1. It's called Winamp.
I had a discussion with a DJ Saturday night because he looked at, and I'm going to get into this tonight's show about software, is the DJ Digital. Sorry. I had a slight speech impediment because I came from the dentist. He from the Digital DJ Tips survey about that he couldn't believe that Rain software was so far down the bottom, and I was trying to explain to him they have two products aside from the new controller. Prior to that, they had two products, so their number's not high on that. And then we started talking about software and the fact that I said you have to think. I said there's lots of people out there in the world who use all kinds of different stuff, and I was told to tell him a story about another friend of mine who DJs weddings multiple every weekend, makes a lot of money, does not have a controller, has never used a controller, does not mix, has never mixed, couldn't mix if he had to. He thought about taking some classes, and he's like, no, I don't need that. He has two laptops running something like the M Word, and that's how he DJs his weddings and makes a lot of money that way. So, are we going to talk about that tonight too? That the fact that is it even needed?
And that could certainly be, and I think that's where it gets into some of the people who are, why they choose the software that they choose, and that's a big part of it. Let's see. Gus mentions PC DJ. That was another one that has.
What do they call that now? Dex.
Dex 3.
Dex 3.
There's a couple of different names, but it's still under PC DJ, and then the other thing. Tricerasoft came out of Canada, which was a music playback that did karaoke. Mixmeister.
Mm-hmm.
There was a new one I just saw somebody send an advertisement out about, but I don't remember what it is now.
And then there's Mix, MIXXX, which is a free.
What is a Dejuiced, which is is it Hercules or Reloop?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Reloop's one.
Yeah, it was Hercules.
Okay. Which theirs is kind of unique because the way they have their setup, you can switch back and forth live while you're DJing from a controller with a laptop to a phone to a tablet, and they all are in conjunction with each other. So you could be DJing on your controller with it and then pick up your tablet, walk across the room and do stuff, and it's all synced. So that's kind of a neat thing that the other ones don't offer.
Joe is mentioning Visual Disco Mix.
That's the one that someone was telling me about, yeah. I don't know much about it. While you're searching for that, on the software, again, this is just certain people who fill out this survey on Digital DJ Tips. Most of the people use Serato. The next down on the list is Record Box, then Tractor Pro, which kind of surprises me because Tractor Pro, with their sales, the company, that they had it up for sale for a while and these different things that I think a lot of people became a little hesitant of it. They were next with Virtual below that, and then Other is below that, followed by DJ Pro 2 for Mac, then Ableton Live, Tractor 2, and then DJ for iOS. So there are people out there DJing with iOS and Ableton.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's funny because these are just people reporting what they use for the survey, but Virtual is the most downloaded software for DJ software in the world. How many of those consider themselves DJs, or people just downloading the free version to have two totally different things?
Yeah, certainly.
So we could be talking about DJ numbers or download numbers, and again, it's how you spin it.
Yeah, and exactly like what you hit on there too. If there's somebody who's downloading it for the idea of using it, not necessarily for the idea of being professional with it, they may not have known of this other companies in their survey. And along those same lines, it doesn't surprise me that Tractor's up there, only because I also know that's a very heavy. Tractor tends to be very heavy European software.
Yes.
And so having, with that being more of a global survey, it doesn't surprise me that some of those numbers tend to be a little bit more up there.
Virtual is also very South America. That's big down there too. There's a big community for that. It kind of blows my mind. But again, I think it's kind of interesting because I know guys who they would fill this out and they are Serato person, but they have downloaded Virtual DJ, so they would fall into both numbers. So again, it's how you spin it. So John, where did you want to take this tonight? Are you looking up the disco mix? Is that where we're at?
No, actually, I was just going through and watching a chat with the numbers. Somebody mentioned the iTunes, that they know somebody who's been performing with iTunes, which if you're not mixing, it's a very stable music playback methodology.
Which is where I want to draw the line here. That this is not me. This is my opinion, because I talked about before about facts and opinion. This is my opinion. This is not a fact. To me, unless you can mix with it, it's not a DJ software. It's a music playback software. So if I was doing this, I would separate them. But again, that, like I said before, this is my opinion. That is so far from the fact. So keep that in mind when I talk.
I would also throw there's a difference between DJ software and mixer software. And that's where I feel like, so mixing software, or maybe mixing software, as opposed to mixer software. So if you're a person who mixes your songs, there's going to be certain apps and programs and softwares that are going to be beneficial. And if you're somebody who does more of a playback, i.e. DJ, disc jockey, not necessarily mixing it, but blends, or not even blends, but just fades, you do have the ability to get into some of those other softwares and have them count.
This is why when John told me the title of this, I was like, do you intentionally pick topics that make me nervous? Because I become very opinionated. And that's why I wanted to say that at the beginning, to force myself to say, don't be opinionated. Because there's so many things where I draw the line and go, you're not a DJ, you have a music service that you offer with your lights and production, which are two different things. But we can't. I don't think for this we can't separate them.
So let's kind of look at because there's going to be a few, and I want to look at why people choose what they choose, and we'll get to that secondly. Yeah. Somebody just mentioned the difficulty with people switching. Have either of you ever thought about, or have you switched, or is this basically you started with this and this is where you've been?
I switch back and forth.
From what to what?
From Serato and Virtual.
Okay.
So now I actually say that I did more flip-flopping before than I do now. So initially what I would do was, when I got started in the quote-unquote bar with the dance floor scene, we won't call it a club, bar with the dance floor scene, I was doing Serato because that's, kind of the idea of what to use and what I had, and it just kind of made the most sense for me. I liked the way the waveforms were set up for being able to mix and being able to watch, as the two were going, because they had the different colors, and it made more sense to me at the time. And then I would flip over, and when I did a wedding, I would do Virtual DJ because I wasn't mixing quite in the same way. It was a different style mixing that I was using. I was doing different hardware, so I wasn't as heavy in some of the mixing that I was doing. So it was easier. I could just match some beats, and I like the auto mix feature. And there's other things I won't get into my list, but that was part of why I would go back and forth. So when I was doing weddings, it was Virtual. When I was doing the bar with the dance floor, it was Serato, to the point that I was going back and forth so much. It wasn't until I stopped doing the bar with the dance floor did I kind of start to wean myself away from Serato. And now I do more Virtual DJ, even to the point of when I'm doing school dances. That was another place where I pretty much always just grabbed my Serato because I felt more comfortable in that style with that. But my music was getting so outdated because I wasn't updating both that I kind of stopped. And now I only do the one.
Which now you can do both.
Yes, you can load both, but I didn't have something set up or whatever, but it wasn't recognizing it the same.
Okay. It does that much better now. So you can have a music library that spans across all of them quite easily.
Yeah.
This is where I want to throw some curveballs in here. When I do my mixing shows on Music and Mixing people say, why can't you do a show on Serato? Because I don't use virtual. And in my mind, the software has absolutely nothing to do with mixing. Mixing is what you do with your hands and your ears. Software is just an interface with how you're viewing the waveforms, loading songs, effects, stuff like that. So to me, looking at the software and saying, why do people use it? I don't think, Dan, I want you to expand upon this. I don't think it's as much for most people. The people who mix like this because it mixes better, and the people who use this one, they like it because you don't have to mix as much. Because to me, you do the exact same thing no matter what you're doing, in my opinion. So where do you see a difference in that, obviously?
So when I was doing it, I was very much when I got into digital, I became very much a visual mixer. So mixing a lot with my eyes, more so than my ears. It was thanks to you with the split cue that actually kind of helped me go the other direction with it. Because one of the things was I always had a trouble distinguishing in my head which beat was with which song. So I was using more the visual. At the time, I could be wrong, but at the time, the virtual that was out was red and blue. There was no color to it other than the red and blue. So your beats, unless I sat there and set up all of my beat grids exactly where they were, I was having to see more within the song. Where with Serato at the time, it was snares were hot white. I forget each of the colors, but I was able to see the beats within the Serato better than I was within virtual.
That's interesting because I was in Nashville when I was trying to be a vocal artist in the early 2000s. I was talking to a guy who produced the Cheetah Girls and I can't think the other lady's name. I can see her face now. Anyways, they were Disney artists, and he talked about how that the next generation. He talked about me, how I read waveforms like they're letters on a page, and I do, to the point where you talk about the colors and you look at the snare. I see the snare because of the shape, because I've used Ableton to edit music so long, and it's not colorized like that. It's up and down. So I'm looking down there, and I can go, right there's the first word, because the shape of it changes. Mm-hmm. Virtual does switch over now to where it's lighter and darker, in that you can do the red and the blues, but lighter and darker. So the darker's the lower tones, the lighter's the higher, and you can do the full color ones like Serato now. Which is I understand the visual mixer, but I guess just because I'm old, I don't see that. So to me, that doesn't weigh in on my choices, because, I mean, you've seen mine. I keep the top end about that big. Yeah. So that's interesting, because that goes back to what I said earlier about opinions, because there are so many different types of DJs that there isn't a wrong necessarily, because you have to do what works for you. It's like, I always tell people, it's like driving a car. You could drive a truck and you go, this is the best vehicle in the world. And someone else could go, well, not with that gas mileage, it's not the best vehicle in the world. So it depends on what you need and what you want. So that's I think, a good way to look at this tonight. So that's neat how you separate them like that. So that's cool.
What's funny is, now with virtual, I haven't set up the color. I know it does. I'm still doing red and blue.
Oh, okay. They have several. With those who care, virtual have multiple colors, multiple styles of waveforms now too. So you can choose all of that. Vertical, everything. So, whatever. John, I know we went off a topic there. Go ahead, jump in.
Yeah, no, I was just reading the chat here. Randy mentions that when he first started DJing off, just got off CDs, he was using his little, what was it? A single music match program to perform. So it must have been like a variation similar to a Winamp or something to that effect.
There was somebody in the chat. Please let us know. There was something back early 2000s that beat matched like that. That was a Winamp or something that would do two songs like that. If you can remember what it was, let us know. I can't remember for the life of me.
Yeah, so one of the early, of course, was DJ Power that came out. That was a whole system, computer and software and everything. Very bloated software that was written in code on top of code on top of code, and it got to the point where it was unusable to a point.
Right.
And but that was one of the early ones out there.
Someone in there talked about price, and I want to throw something out here. Again, this is an opinion, but nowadays they're going for buying the software or paying monthly for it.
Subscription, yeah.
And they're both about the same on subscription, believe it or not. here's the difference of price. Everybody goes, virtual's so expensive. I can get Serato for this amount. But if you buy all of the things that Serato offers you, because you have to upgrade for pitch and time, which is literally built into every program in the world. You have to pay extra for it there. All the different add-ons for Serato, it actually becomes a little bit, and I don't mean a lot, a little bit more than virtual. So, but virtual gives you all of it. So some of the choice, Dan, you have to agree as a starting, look back at a starting DJ. I know that I had a cracked version of virtual for years because I couldn't afford virtual. And I felt bad about it because I really try to be honest with that stuff, and I saved up and then bought the full version. So there are people out there that look at Serato and go, I'm just going with Serato because I can't afford the full price of the other one, and I'll just tag on $20 here for this thing, $20 there for that thing. What do you guys think?
Well, I think John kind of, when he was asking why are certain softwares being used, and I think you've hit on it right there. In fact, my very first line, free. All right, so there are some people who are virtual DJ users now, either because they're still using a hacked version somehow, even though they put a lot of like safeguards in there to keep it from happening, or when they started, they were on a hacked version, and so they got a chance, and then they upgraded and went a step further with it. But I think the flip of that also happens with ones obviously like Rekordbox, because that is, built into Pioneers and a lot of their controllers. Yeah. Serato's, within their controllers, to the point that if you buy a controller, you get the program, you get a version, right? Let me put it that way. You get a version of the program for free. So I think there are some people who have a program because of that, or at least that's what got them started in the program. Now they're hooked. Now they use it regardless of whatever they pick up.
People don't like change. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And keep in mind, if I knew where all the buttons were and everything is, like, I know some people who wouldn't switch to virtual 2021 because they were still on 8 or 7. And well, there was 7 too, but some people went to 8 and they were afraid to even go higher. And it's like, now the layout's the same. Like I get 7 to 8, but come on. Just because of being fearful of certain things. So, I totally get it. I totally get the not wanting to change, but free is a hard thing is a hard thing to argue with.
Talk about switching. I have a friend who for the longest time didn't want to update his Mac because he had an older Mac that worked, and he ran it on Serato Itch, or was it Serato Scratch? What was the one before Serato DJ? Itch or
Scratch?
All right. So he ran it on Scratch and would not update, would not get a newer software because he didn't want to update his computer because the computer and the software just worked. Mm-hmm. And that was the way he ran that. I'm talking in 5 years, like 2 years ago, he finally switched because he wanted to use a controller, and he could not use a controller on that software at all. There was no controller that worked on that. So that was the one and only reason he switched. So yeah. It's interesting, the dynamic around all of that. The people get stuck into something they don't want to change. It's the same way with hardware. I know guys that they don't want to get a new controller. They don't want to switch off turntables because I don't want to have to new muscle memory. And the software is kind of the same way. I had a friend of mine tell me he hated virtual because it didn't work. And I said, what do you mean it doesn't work? He goes, it just doesn't work. And I'm like, maybe there's something with your computer. Can I help you? He's like, no, there's nothing wrong with my computer. I just don't like where the stuff is. I'm like, wait, so you're saying it doesn't work because it doesn't have things in the place you want them? He's like, well, yeah. I'm like, well, that's not work. That's a workflow, maybe a layout that you don't like, but it doesn't work means it doesn't, so that's where I think opinion, you have to watch out. People throw an opinion in there. I thought he hated it, but it was just the fact that he didn't like where stuff was at. He now owns it. I helped him set it up, 5 years later. So, I don't know. John, go ahead, because I'm starting to get opinionated.
I think talking to some of the manufacturers about 5 years ago, maybe it was a little longer than that, when we did, it was when I did a video with Newmark. And the discussion came up of why I think they either went from virtual to Serato or vice versa, and this was an income for them. They got paid to put this on there because it was the introductory drug for especially these newer or the more entry level controllers. This is their first experience with DJ software, and you mentioned free. I mean, there's still a very widely used software, DJ software program that is free out there. Mix has been around for forever, and it's on Windows, and it's on Linux, and it's on Mac, and it's free. It's a thing you can make a donation to them, and they continually update the thing. So it's really, I think it's who got their claws into somebody first. It plays a big role in it, because once you're there and you start learning on Serato Lite or Virtual DJ Lite or LE, whatever it is,
here's something I think you need to throw also into there, that people will get a controller and it says, oh, it's a Serato controller. Now, keep in mind what John just said. Someone is paying to have Serato on there. They're not putting Serato on there because they want their controllers to use Serato, okay? That has nothing to do with it. If Virtual wanted to pay, if Mix wanted to pay, you would see Mix on the boxes. So when a controller says Serato controller, that absolutely does not mean that's the only thing it works with. Don't ever think that. First off, here's my opinion. I'm sorry. It's not opinion, it is a fact. Virtual works with about 3 times as many different hardwares than Serato does. Simply because Serato started late in the controller world. They just did the Serato boxes for years, and then they finally opened it up to controllers later, so they're playing catch-up. But, again, you can't look at a controller and say, oh, you can tell, oh, Serato comes on every controller, that must mean it's the most popular. No, that means they're paying out. Virtual goes, hey, we don't need to do that. People pay us. You pay one time. They're making money off the fact that people pay one time and never pay for another thing again. Where Serato, you pay one time, and every time they do an update or a change or this, you're paying $20 extra. And that's soon going to be dropped out and doing, okay, we're going to pay $5 a month for this across the board sort of thing. So you have to think on that, because people get real opinionated. Someone in the chat talked about he feels that Virtual is hard. Again, mixing is mixing, so you're doing the exact same thing. When you say it's hard, there's a good chance that it's just you're not used to it. So hard isn't hard. Hard is I'm not used to it, and I don't want to learn something new. And to me, that's saying 2 different things. That's like saying something sucks and then saying something is broken. Okay, sucks is an opinion, broken is a fact. So that's why I think I'm sorry. No. I shouldn't have come to the show.
So you want to hear I don't think you guys ever heard one of the other reasons why I switched to Virtual. So when I actually got started, I actually, in the beginning, I was DJing weddings with, well, first I started with CDs, but when I went to digital, I was using Scratch Live, and I was running it through, and I had a dual deck CD player, and yeah, I was controlling it that way. All right. And when I went to my MC6000, I got that to work with my Serato so I could still use it for Scratch Live, because the very first 6000, I think, was Virtual.
I believe
so. The second 2 didn't work with the older stuff. Yeah.
Right. So anyway.
Yes, you are correct. It came with a name on the box. Yeah.
Right. And so in order to work with Serato, I actually had to hook a Scratch Live box into it so that it would work the way it was supposed to, but the lights didn't work on it. So at one time, there was kind of that. It wasn't just the software, but it was also some of the functionality of the controllers would be limited to the software. A lot of that has kind of gotten away from some of the controller creators. But for Virtual, one of the reasons that I made the switch, it was one of the first ones of the names that I knew that had an app that would allow you to control it. I, being a single op, wanted something that if I was out on the floor and I needed, I'm leading a bouquet and garter toss and I want to start a song, I don't have to run back up to my booth to be able to hit it. I could hit it on my phone and I could play, and I could do it from the floor.
Right.
And so that was one of the reasons why I got into it. And I was like, I'm going to do Virtual. I'm going to buy the program. I'm going to get the app and run everything with it. And that's one of the first reasons I had a wireless router installed in my case, was so that I could control everything through that. So
are you going to have one of those in your booth? And when are you going to show us your booth?
What do you mean, when am I going to show it? I've been showing it all the time on my Facebook page, MJ. Come on. It is, and let me phrase that, is the wireless router is installed in my audio box, so that whether I take the booth or whether I take something smaller, it's already there.
Got it. John, you look like you have another question. Go for it.
Well, the table show where we show our booths, I'm still waiting for parts on mine. So
yes, it was his fault. Although I did send you the link to help you out.
I know you did, and I appreciate that. But ironically, those won't fit, even though they are labeled the right size. They won't fit. But we'll have to. We'll
find
talk
you more. There was other ones on there.
Yep, and that's what I gotta look around. So we'll talk. But that'll be a future show. And that one, MJ, will make sure you have more time so you can.
I was going to take a picture the other night with mine, where I was holding my entire booth with one hand. So
yeah, Dan can do that too. You can.
I can.
Here's something I want to throw out too, also about the two of them. That I've literally heard people tell me that they won't use virtual DJ because they're afraid of other DJs making fun of them. Like they've literally said, "I love virtual DJ, but I can't use it. People make fun of me." That to me blows my mind, because that's kind of like the definition of a sellout. You know, you picking something that you wouldn't be your first choice because of other people's opinions.
I can appreciate that one though, because when I was using virtual, the people who are really music connoisseurs and wanted to have that the capability to play songs and set the cue points where they wanted to set the cue points, and to be able to have those songs go and be in a playlist. I took a lot of heat from that.
Oh yeah, I have a friend of mine who is a Serato fan. I mean, I could see him using anything. He's been DJing a long time. He really is a very talented DJ. But he has shown me the fact on multiple occasions when I go visit him that he has disconnected, because Serato, you can actually turn off the sync button so that the button is not active within Serato. And he shows me, yep, look, I disconnected it, because he does not want people thinking that he uses the sync button, and he points it out to people all the time.
Well, and I've heard the whole stigma that goes behind real DJs don't use ... And here's the thing that you've got to keep in mind is that opinion appears in a lot of places, and I think I even heard it in this show earlier, not related to software, but something else. But with that being said, I don't know where I would have heard it, right? With that being said, whether that's the case or not, I do understand the concern, because when you're in an industry where we're trying not only to compete for events, that, the people that are on the floor aren't going to care what software I use.
Right.
But if I'm going to try and make some connection or some networking or something like that, and create a chance to get my foot in the door because somebody else is going to bring me in, sometimes I do have to play, quote unquote, play the game. And so I could see where at one time you said industry standard. That was one thing we've heard about a couple different softwares, when it was really down to, in the US, I want to say the big two. All right. I don't really consider, I know there were people that use Tractor, but you wouldn't really hear so much in the US about them, maybe in different parts of the US. But so it came down to Serato versus virtual. And so, it was industry standard. So that's what people did. Now, I think one of the reasons why that has really changed is look at what virtual has done in their marketing, where they've gone into different mixing competitions. They've been sponsors of big mixing competitions. They've got some of the big name mixers. That was another thing, when we look up to certain people because of their talents, and that's what they use, sometimes it's very simple to want to go, I want to use that too.
A quick story that fits that. I want to keep going. What's his name from Pioneer? Jay told me a story that he talked to people that are out on tour, and the main guy, I don't remember who it was, so it was a super big EDM guy, and in his rider, he wanted that rotary mixer that they have. Was the MP15, and it was just him that wanted it. Everybody else wanted the normal stuff. And then when everybody else saw that main big guy wanted the rotary, they all changed their rider to the rotary, even though they've never used it before. So what you said there, Dan, is true on so many levels.
So I think that's some of it. But what I think has kind of helped maybe tear that down, like I said, is their marketing. But also, because you have now these other ones that have come on with kind of a vengeance, with kind of an attack, with, you know, Record Box being what it is, and you got a lot of, you know, bigger names kind of gravitating towards that. You have, like I said, the engine software. So if you are getting into that or getting into the Prime series and some of the other, like the SC5000, I think uses it too.
Yeah, anything that has the Prime word. So it'd be SC5000 and 5000M, 6000, 6000M, Prime 4, Prime 2, and Prime Go.
There you go. So you have more people that are getting into those as well. So I think because we have some more bigger softwares that are jumping into the game full force, it's kind of tearing down some of that, oh, I have to use that.
Right. Here's something to think about that I think the future is algorithm, because they are working so well on a tablet, however you want to call that. And this next generation coming along isn't going to own a laptop. They all own tablets. And as tablets get more powerful and more memory, that I think is going to be what we're going to use in the future. And algorithms has themselves set with a program that does a lot really well. So I think that's something to think about in the future.
I think the one thing that will slow them up, as long as it's continued to be offered, is going to be that buying versus subscription setup.
Yes.
Because
that generation's not used to that. That's the sad thing. We're not.
Well, that's true. But, you know, if I'm deciding that I'm going to jump into this and I'm paying, and I forget what Pro is within the app, $10 a month, maybe.
Look, go ahead.
But it's not $2.99, you know, type of thing for the app. I could see that potentially being an obstacle that they could have difficulty coming against long term.
It's possible. I'm trying to find. They said no, this is not even the right thing here. $50 a month. No, that's not it. Go ahead. I'm going to take me a minute to find it. If someone in the chat can quote it out to me, I don't know. I know Virtual's. This is the crazy thing. Virtual's monthly thing, if you want to rent it as opposed to thing, is $20 a month. Which to me, that's a big bite, but I don't know, I guess. I mean, because you got to figure out if you pay the full amount, you're like 2.5 years and it's paid for.
See, I wonder if that a part of that appeal is for the people who are like, you know, I'm going to get into this. I don't know if I'm going to like it. So I'm going to upgrade so I can have all the features. And you know what? I'll just do the monthly thing and see if I like it. And they may find that there's going to be 6 months of them renting it, subscribing, and then they buy it. Well, that means that they've gotten their, I don't know, I paid, I think, $199 or something like that for it at one time. Sounds somewhat familiar. So now they've made $199 plus the 6 months, another $120. I don't know. It would be interesting, and I'm sure after a few more years they're going to have some stats on that they could say, this is why we do it.
I know somebody who did that with Virtual and kept forgetting to cancel his payment, and they got like $100 extra because every month he would forget to cancel it. And I'm like, well, cancel it now. I'll get it later. And I was like, what the freak, dude? So you think you get money like that? Anybody got the price for that yet?
I haven't seen anything yet.
I'm on the website, but I can't find it.
They don't tell you till you press the buy button. Plus,
probably not.
Yeah, see, once you enter your credit card number, then they tell you.
Yeah. If somebody knows that, I think
Pro License. Mike mentioned Pro License is $300 for the.
But that's like the Mac version. That's not the tablet or iPad version.
Right. Which is right in there with Virtual, the same price, and I think it's the same for Tractor Pro. I think also.
In 2020, Joe purchased the full version of Virtual DJ for $149 for life.
When did he do that?
2020. Bought a controller that came with LE and there was a discount.
That's the difference. See, that's where they get you. You'll get the program. Both Serato does this, Virtual, they all do this, to where that software that you get on that disc or whatever is licensed to that controller only.
Yeah.
So you're free to use it on that controller, but if you want to use it on anything else, you got to pay their upgrade fee, which is $150. So you're not, on a lot of those, even Serato, you're not getting the full program. You're getting the full program for that device only. And that's the way I did with my Serato. That's how I got Serato. I got it with the device and then paid a little extra for it. I waited till they went for the half off, and I think I got the full upgrade for like $70 or something like that.
Yeah, I think I did something similar with that.
So it's an interesting thing, this whole... that's why I wanted to start off the show with a little bit of the warning thing about it, that it's like anything. It's like headphones. we in the business, I doubt you could find two DJs that would agree on what's the best sounding headphones. Just simply because it's what you like to use. I like virtual because I can modify it constantly and do all kinds of stuff with it. Or someone else could look at Serato and go, I don't want to touch anything. I just want to turn it on and have it work. And that is perfect for them. They don't have to adjust anything. They don't have to do anything. So that might fit them. But like me, I want to change stuff. I don't want this button to be this button. I want to be able to make that button be what I want it to be. So that's a big thing right there that you have to
do that on Serato too. You can MIDI map everything. So
now you couldn't always. They added that 2019.
No, it's been before that.
No. They had it very limited. Trust me, because that was one of their big selling points. That I made this post about advanced MIDI mapping, and I'm like, had it since the beginning. And they had something else, and I'm like, had it since 2016.
I MIDI mapped my MC6000.
How many years ago?
With Scratch Live. How many
Scratch
years
is
ago?
different than Pro. Scratch is different than Pro. Yeah.
Okay, but
Totally
they were doing it then. I never tried it with the new one because I didn't need it by that point.
Yeah.
But
that's
anyway,
Pro. That's
if I going back to DJ Pro, if what I saw, I think it said around $5 a month, which I thought it was more than that. I thought it was more than that for the Pro. So maybe that's maybe that's the case. Maybe that came down or something I saw was a little bit different.
Upgrade to Pro AI, which is their new one. Which is the AI for the? Is the AI the pad or is the AI the other
I thought it was the pad. Yeah, I think
that's $4.99 a month.
Okay.
There's some questions coming in from Facebook. People are asking a little bit about some of the specifics of how you make some of those changes. MJ, now that's something that you guys, when you do your question night on Wednesday nights, that's some of the things that they could ask on Wednesday?
Not this Wednesday. I'm pretty sure I'm having a guest, and if I get the guest that I want, everybody in the world is going to want to tune in because I'm really shooting for the stars on my guest Wednesday night. But if it doesn't work out, I'm going to pull somebody else. But that would be a question you can either bring it up the following Wednesday. That would be the 10th, and that is our night on Twitch where we talk about music. So I could talk about it there. And like I said, because we're on Twitch that night, we can play music. And then the following one after that is a topic night, which maybe I could make the topic about that. But the open question is the 4th. And there are 5 Mondays this month, John, and 5 Wednesdays this month. So what are we going to do with all this?
Wow. I'm trying to figure out who your guest is. I'm thinking Mariah Carey.
No, someone much prettier, actually. I'm trying. I have not. Let me check my email and see if I've gotten a response. Because if I get a response that's a positive, I'll say right now. But there's no guarantee. It takes forever to open up while we're doing stuff here. Anyway, so what are the other questions you have?
That's it. They've been just following along. Thank you guys again for being with us tonight. There's a lot of great comments and such about people and their favorite software and some of the things they like about it.
And that's the thing that you do have to keep in mind. I mean, and if you're watching this with the idea that you want to get a software, if you're trying to decide what you want to do, I would say first off, don't ask in a DJ forum what software should I get, because that you're going to get an arguing and a match of
you'll get yelled
dimwits.
At one way or the other.
Exactly, no matter what. And then they'll yell back and forth at each other as well. So that concept just isn't going to be good. What I would recommend for you is to definitely look for those programs that have a free version trial. Whether it's 7 days, whether it's 14, whether it's even a month, and just give it a shot and see what you like and what you don't. And then if you want to ask, hey, I like this feature, or I like these features, is the other program doing that and I don't know how to do it? To basically where you're going with more of a this is why type of thing, you're going to get much better feedback. You're still going to get that shouting match, and people are going to, because they don't read your whole statements, but it will at least help you get a little bit more pointed direction.
That's how I made my decision on my software. I think John talked about his was free. Mine was the fact that I tried all the free versions on everything. I tried Tractor, I tried Serato, I tried everything. I hated Virtual 6, and when I was at the expo one year, they were handing out CDs of Virtual 7. that's how I got to try 7, and that's what hooked me, because there was such a big difference between 6 and 7 that I'm like, this is what I want. I want a software that's versatile, so that I can do karaoke if I want to do karaoke. I can do video if I want to do video. If I can do MP3s or whatever files, I wanted it to be able to do everything and not have to, like you did, switch stuff. That's what pulled it to me. But try everything, because you never. I have friends who mix with Serato, and then when they go out and do certain other gigs, they use algorithm because of its auto mix thing. Mm-hmm. Certain nights that they want that is their go-to for that. So you might find 2 that work for you.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about auto mixing and
that
kind of feature too. Yeah.
More questions.
Nobody brought up Serato Fire though. I was kind of disappointed.
For those of you who don't know what that is an app that will take the songs on your phone and mix them for you.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but and it works really well actually. But
I had it for years, and I think I've listened to it twice.
I had it on my phone, tried it, took it off, that sort of thing. I'm like, eh.
Oh my goodness.
Got a few things here.
Yeah.
So the next show tonight is, instead of in the chill room tonight with hanging with Howie. Howie is doing a show. He's interviewing DJ Joey Blue tonight. If you're a DJNTV insider, I just put the link into the chat, the Facebook link. You can go to the Facebook group. That's where it's going to be streamed for the recording tonight. Then we're going to do any edits we need to do, and it will be uploaded later this week. The interview with Joey Blue from New York. Howie's really excited about that for tonight. And then after that, DJNTV.com/chill. You can go there and hang out, and that's where everyone will be kind of headed to for the after party from tonight's shows. There was something else here. Oh, yeah, I put the link for the Twitch. If you guys want to pop out to Twitch, twitch.tv/discjockeynews. That's where MJ will be doing some of the live streams for DJ and TV on Twitch. So if you want to go subscribe and hit that link is also in the chat. Okay. I think that's all I had there.
Nice.
I haven't even had the chat on tonight, so I got to probably maybe I should pay attention. Interview. MJ should.
He's got to be able to talk to women first. Oh, so anyway.
Oh. Well, we got to go, guys. It's time to wrap up.
We love you, MJ. It's all good.
In fact, that is what I'm doing, because when I flipped the calendar today, this is Women's History Month, and that is my goal for Wednesday night. Is I'm going to have a female DJ on, and I shot for the moon on one, and we're going to see if
it
she
works.
answers. And if not, I have some other ones in line that can step in, but that is my goal, is to have a female DJ to talk about what they deal with. And the fact that I hate the fact that people go, oh, she's good for a girl. I want to slap somebody who says that. If she can beat you, who cares if she's a girl? She just beat you, So, anyways, that's my goal.
Excellent.
Nice. All right.
Let's wrap her up, Dan, so Howie can get ready to go here.
Well, since I didn't get to have the intro, I guess I got to have the outro. But thank you guys very much for taking some time to join us tonight. I'm sure we answered all of your questions, and you know exactly what software you need to use, and you're going to be using it because you hate Megasync. But on that note, thank you very much. Have yourself a wonderful night, and we'll see you next time. Bye.